this is, so I would say, like, we're talking about real, you're talking about your situation, that's a real historical situation, and what I want to analyze is, how has the state effed you over, how has capitalism effed you over, because you have to compete with the capitalists that are getting state privileges, and then how has the state effed your employees over? So basically, from my point of view, you and the employee are just making the best of a raw deal. You're both getting effed. But like in a society which I prefer, what I would call a voluntary society, an anarchist society, I'd want to see where people can be equals. They can combine equally together in cooperatives.
They can, absolutely. I wouldn't disagree with that. But if some agree to work for a lesser wage from the owner of the company, then that's okay too, right? I mean, it could be a voluntary agreement.
It's not that
it's all voluntary.
I'm not.
Yeah, wouldn't that be?
It's not that it's libertarian. It's not that it's awful. I mean, like, so say someone they don't want to work with other people, but they don't even want to have an independent thing, and they're hungry, and they go, "Can I work for you for the day and just get a product?" And I'm a day laborer, I just want to bum around. I'm a hobo, I just want to work a day and get some money and get some food. So he's, so that's their personal choice, and then, and that's what they're doing, and that's not awful terrible. But I guess what I want to say is that, like, that's not what I like in terms of anarchy. It's not equality. It's like you're entering into a little bit of a disparity of power there that may not be as preferable as everybody having solidarity, everybody having equality.
Well, how would you enforce it, though?
Equality. Enforce it. I mean, one of the big things, though, and I was trying to say this.
Equality's natural, though.
My question
it takes enforcement to keep equality from happening.
But how do you bring it about without force?
And that's
how
where
do you go from our current system to a socialist system without attacking and taking resources from the moneyed class that exists right now?
So
you think they're just going to give it to you?
No,
I mean, it can't be done voluntarily, can it?
Well, all right. So we got first we got to go under
Is stealing from corporations unethical?
Get benefits from the state, because even Murray Rothbard, I believe, in early Journal of Libertarian Studies, goes over
Yugoslavia.
In Yugoslavia, when workers took control of their factories, because the factories were mainly state benefited from the state, and so if a lot of these factories today get their benefits from the state and stuff, then the workers have a right to homestead that factory. And that's where syndicalism comes in.
What about the people that were the taxpayers that were milked to pay for the factory? Aren't they part of the business?
And that's one of the things that
aren't you only the people that are physically there? Most of the money didn't come from those workers. It came from look at the GM bailout. My business was going under. Well, I was paying taxes that were being funneled into those UAW workers' hands.
Anyway, we're talking about Rothbard and Yugoslavia. I do want to satisfy your situation here, though.
No, but it just comes down to volunteerism, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to ostracize me or something in that society, right? Because or try to sabotage the person I'm paying.
I would go to your employee and say, listen.
You would.
How about you and us? We get together over here. There's some people over here, young people, and they're making they have their own business. And they're making $12 an hour, run it themselves. How about you join them instead of this guy? Because he can't pay you your full value if he's gonna make a profit off you.
Yeah, he'll find somebody
else. And then
else.
you can join them or start your own cooperative or do your independent thing. That
way,
it's like
compete the capitalists, or are you going to somehow
create
shut them down?
He doesn't work as hard.
You create alternatives.
And he doesn't
if he doesn't work, there's voluntary association, right? So if an employee in a voluntary association is working out, you come to them like, listen, we'd really like you to maybe pull a little more weight. We're feeling some of the fellas got.
Aren't you pulling a power trip on him?
So it's the same.
No, we're saying like we have choices, and like we might not want to associate.
But that isn't a power trip.
It seems like a peer pressure.
But I actually think you should be. I agree with you. You should be able to say it. But there are a lot of guys, like panhandlers, they don't want to show up if they're needed at 8:30.
Everybody wants to meet their own needs, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make choices to meet my own needs, and I want to work with others.
Oh yeah,
that's good. We're just making it work.
So how is that not the power problem?
Power. You just said power is like it's a neutral thing. It's just action. It's
I don't believe in power. I believe we have power over nature, but we don't have power over this person. That's coercion when I force them to do something.
I like to look at cooperation and domination. I never got to that. But cooperation is power with, and domination is power over. And I'm not having, by saying, I don't know, I want to hang out with you, I'm not having power over you. I'm just saying, like, you know, I got to have my power to do my own thing with someone else. Like, power myself, you know, I'm just,
if you want to cooperate voluntarily with you,
I don't think you're going to find a lot of disagreement in this room.
So, do we
I
satisfy you?
actually, I answered his question too.
Well, another
So,
question, if I may, that's all the same. You said that they're different things. An anarchist without adjectives and a voluntarist. What's the difference?
the anarchist without adjectives is going to be more or less belonging to the left side of, from mutualism to. I mean, even though you can also say that you could argue for that. Anarcho-capitalism is in there too.
No, it's not.
But I would say that it isn't.
As an anarchist without adjectives, I would not include
Right.
anarcho-capitalism in with the anarchist school.
So that's the only adjective that's banned in anarchism?
There are anarcho-capitalism. It's an oxymoron.
Well,
This brings up that
so
life
now
of Brian
That's a
splitter. I'm with the Palestinian Liberation Organization. I'm with the Organization of Palestinian Liberation. Splitter.
I don't know. I don't
Once
know.
again, a semantic argument.
If we're talking over each other,
The problem
I don't know if
with
the YouTube
anarcho-capitalism
Hold on, hold on.
stateless statism.
Time out, guys. All right.
I want to create a good product for the YouTube viewers. So if we can kind of like one at a time, you know, what's that?
I mean, I'm
Well,
not.
you got private
I'm
prisons,
not-
private police force.
Well,
Okay.
Who enforces
Yeah.
absentee ownership
Right.
without some sort of police force in prison to lock people up
The
for
question-
trying to homestead unused resources?
The question was asked: how do you enforce socialism? Are you going to do it by force? Well, I mean, to protect yourself, you need to use force. To protect your version of property rights, you need to use force if you're going to just enforce it without any kind of negotiation with anyone else. What I'm suggesting, what I see anarchism is like, I'm going to enter into a relationship with every person I meet, and we're just going to dynamically negotiate win-win strategies. Like, that's what I want to see. And like, I want to be equal with them. I don't want to have power over them. I want to bring them into a place where like, we're cool. Like everybody, because as soon as you have one person has a lot of power, like the state's going to come back in. That's why anarchists are like saying capitalism kind of brings in the state, because with capitalism you're going to have accumulations of power, and those accumulation powers are eventually going to reassert themselves as a private army, as a private state, as a mini state. Rothbard classically, I mean, this is like one of the mind-blowing things with Rothbard. You read Ethics of Liberty, he defines a state as the exclusive, ultimate decision maker over a given territory. And then he later, 20 pages later, he says, and Jones in his private property has the exclusive decision maker over his given territory. And so, like, for Rothbard, I don't know if he quite connected it, but like, his version of private property was his definition of statism. You know, so like, and that's what I'm scared of. Like, that's what concerns me. It gives me capitalism gives me queasiness. Like, I'm like, I want equality and solidarity, and I think that with equality and solidarity, then I get anarchy.
Now, is there an argument against that? Rothbard wouldn't.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with having sovereignty over your own
I'm
property.
okay with many states as long as there's 7 billion of them.
A 7 billion state solution.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob.
So basically, your point is that when you have exclusive control, you're becoming a state. Is that?
You're moving in that direction, and then there's a lot of opportunity for that.
Because
You're
I'm
like,
trying to get the distinction, because I hear a distinction but not a difference.
right,
And I want to really
it's a
tease
different theory of property. You know what I mean? Like again, like the narco-capitalist tends to go lock in non-proviso, and then tends to also be sticky. Like in other words, I can leave this thing that I've transformed, and I can leave it for 20 years and come back, and it's still mine.
But is he heading towards the state when he sets up his bricklaying business?
I'm not. I said I'm not concerned about petty bourgeoisie. You know, I think that's gonna like
But
the
when
market will take care of
somebody
that.
tries to rob his truckload of bricks, if he pulls out the gun to defend himself, is that being a police force? That's so evil? You see?
But you do need
He's
force to
using
defend your
the-
theory.
He's using a
He's
gun.
using
Is
the
his
thing of
hand a
bricks.
police force now?
The thing of brick, you need force. You need a private police force to
No,
enforce.
no, he
bricks
has
you're
his
not
own gun.
using.
He has
You
his
need
gun. Is his
you
hand a
have
police
bricks you're
force?
not using. You need a police force to enforce that. If you have a
No,
pile
is this
of
a
bricks
state?
way over there that you've been litting over there for 20 years, the only thing that can keep that
So
pile
you're
of
not
bricks
going to
yours.
you're not going to have the
I'm
dialogue.
trying
with
to
me.
explain it to you here. The difference between him using a thing of bricks and defending that thing
Yeah.
of bricks that he's using.
So that's not state.
Yo.
Okay,
A
thanks.
state,
I needed
a
to know
state
your
is having a
answer.
pile of bricks over there that you're
Brothers, you
charging
started
someone
talking
to use,
about
and then you
everything
kill
but my
people who
question.
try and
I'm
use
still
the
waiting
bricks.
for the foot to drop. You
Hey,
see?
Jacob.
Yeah.
Two things. One, for the state to be what it is, it requires the religious belief that it is legitimate and it actually does have authority. So, like, let's say we get to a stateless society and people say, you know what, screw this ruler's bullshit. All right, so how's that religion come back?
Is property rights a thing in nature, or is it a religion, or is it?
No. I'm talking about the state. That one person or a small group of people can have dominion over others.
Right.
That your rights and money are subject to my vote. That religion, the state.
Okay, the state. That religion.
Yeah.
And you want to know how capitalism brings that back?
No, capitalism doesn't bring that back.
Okay.
What I'm saying is if we get to a stateless society where this belief that we have to have wise overlords yelling at us, telling us what to do, and that they can shoot us dead for having raw milk or unlawful vegetation, when that's gone,
Right.
all right, how does the state come back through capitalism with that?
Okay.
Have you?
And then I have one other question.
Okay. How does the state come back from capitalism?
Yeah, but why ask the other question first?
So I just want to keep
With-
remembering
yeah.
things so I don't lose track of what's brought up.
Because the state does require the belief that it's legitimate.
Okay.
But the other question is, without government granted favors and all this other stuff, how does a company get so damn big that they can have dominion over everybody? It's never happened. It's never even come close.
Right. We don't have one state. We have lots of states all competing with each other, right? And we have several thousands of corporations competing over each other over their territorial land. I don't know. You're talking about were you invoking Botway right there with the religion of capitalism? Or
No,
religion
the-
of
Statism.
No, the religion of the state.
religion of
yeah.
the
The
state.
belief
So
that's
that's the-
legitimate.
The belief that's legitimate. So like, basically what he's asking is, all right. So if we get rid of the state and people are aware of that, how would it come back through? What that means. Have you ever read Franz Oppenheimer?
Yes.
When,
Yeah, he's got that great book.
the state. He was also what we would consider a free market socialist.
See, I always thought he was an ANCAP, because to me it always is so much the same.
He would argue, if my recollection doesn't lead me here, that he used those people that used force on other people were trying to make a profit off of it. And you have the market means and you have the
Economic means and political means.
Yeah.
political means. So obviously you had people who were already working on their land and they were sharing things or doing whatever they were voluntary doing themselves. And you had people saying, well, okay, here, we're going to come in, we're going to kind of do things our way, and then we're going to say that you work for us, and your part of your profit comes to us. And in that sense, you could also say that capitalism could do that without the state, because that's how it ends up.
How does that happen?
You want to try to answer that?
Is the state a territorial monopoly of violence and force over a given area?
States are a territorial monopoly.
Okay. How is that different from a private property owner?
It
There's
is
no
because
violence.
the state is over the populace.
Over the people. So how would that differ from a landlord who has the territorial monopoly over his land?
It's a difference between the belief that it's
also
okay
very
versus
propriety.
whether it's okay.
It's not voluntary.
We need it or not.
Well, what if a landlord?
That person could opt out.
Okay. Voluntary. I heard that. What if the landlord got a grant from the state?
Wait,
to
what's
buy
the
land?
landlord?
What
Is the-
state?
What state?
What's the landlord? Is the landlord somebody who built a 3-story structure, and if he walks away from it for 5 years, it's not his anymore?
I want to.
I mean, no, but you use the word landlord. What is that? Empty land, or is it a structure? Because most of us think of a landlord being somebody who owns a building.
Most of
Could
you
just be.
want to be a building?
Well, it doesn't have to be. I just want to know what you're
I was
talking
thinking of
about.
building.
Pretty much.
I was thinking of
Yeah.
building.
So,
It's been very.
A person got money from the states. They built the building.
why did they get the money from the state?
A grant.
What state? We're in a stateless society.
He's trying to get into.
This is a stateless scenario.
A stateless scenario.
Right,
How does?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking about
Trying to tell us how the
man.
state would evolve
Yeah.
through capitalism.
Yeah.
We can't have the state in this scenario. We want to see how this evolution
Yeah.
will work
Well,
out.
when Oppenheimer made a study about the state in the first place, that was without a nation state or a city state. That was through means of extortion through people without using state. They just basically used force. They used that idea of the strongest kind of rule over the weak. That kind of idea they formed a group of people where they were like, hey, we're going to strong arm these voluntary group of people who are working on their land, doing their own thing, and we're going to use force to make them
Buy their products?
Give tribute to that person of power.
Okay, so what does that have to do with
Yeah,
capitalism?
because he's not addressing your question. Yeah.
You're just going by the mafia model.
He's trying to ask you
And the
how
mafia
does
is
the
actually
state
quite
come out
useful
of
in most situations.
somebody building a building with their brother, and then they become powerful?
That's how the state formed. That's how the state formed in the first place.
To me, I'm not.
Historically,
Historically, you had people came over and said, "This is mine. You pay me rent."
No. You mean when they built the structure? It's not
Yeah,
theirs.
the king built
I'm
the
not talking
castle
about
and
the
said,
king. I'm
"This is
saying
mine."
Larry Ludlow, me,
And then he
walked
expanded
somewhere
his
and he built an
territory.
adobe hut. Am I now a power monger because I rent my hut to somebody who doesn't want to get wet in the rain?
Yes.
No, because there's a lot of volunteers.
So we all have to live in tents. I suppose.
The only aspect that would be is respecting the property
shoved
owner
him in
rights.
there.
Right, yeah.
If it's
And we're like,
building,
you got
How
him.
does the property owner own your property if he
You pay me rent.
if he uses it
That's
for
the
extended
state.
period?
There's a lot of
Maybe he's
stuff
in a
going
nursing
on.
home and is using the rent on the property
Yeah.
to survive.
Yeah.
All right.
What,
So
does that make him a Nazi?
See, I don't see how a landlord is different than any laborer. The laborer is selling his labor. The landlord is selling the stored up labor that's in the 2-story apartment he
I'm
built.
hearing I'm so overwhelmed by how this is branching out.
It's very
I
complex.
just need one thing at a time.
It's very
and then,
complex.
Stick with it.
It's very
let's
complex.
Can we
I
have
want to get to a
property?
point where like everyone like, okay, I'm satisfied with that. We can move on, rather than bringing something up.
I think it's because every time we talk about a structure, it becomes a state. You claim it's a state without telling us how it's a state.
Okay, so you want
Because we're all with you.
Let's
on
address
that.
the question that Lou is now gone. But how does capitalism become the state?
Yeah.
Okay, say the state goes away. Okay, but we still have history, right? So Bill Gates is still a billionaire, right?
In what denomination?
Unless he converted it to Bitcoin,
maybe he
he
converts
lost
all
it
over to
all.
gold.
Maybe
Yeah,
Microsoft
gold.
maybe
Maybe he takes his billions.
Yeah, being the thing.
Yeah, the state is gone, so doesn't Microsoft fall in?
I can't even construct a hypothetical without it being
There goes his business model.
hypothetical.
Company's gonna survive now.
Bill Gates takes his FRNs, he converts it into land. Is Bill Gates a state? That's what I need to know from you. Bill Gates is not a state.
If he
Bill Gates
has,
is
if he
fucked.
has
Where did he get his
individual
money?
managerial,
Where did he get his money?